So we can get started.
Yeah. Okay, just get to work.
Welcome, everyone. I'm calling to order the City of Pittsburgh's meeting for June 5th, 2024 for the Historic Review Commission. I would like to start with a roll call. Commissioner Reed here. Commissioner Green won't be in today. Commissioner Balton. Thank you. Commissioner Lawson will not be in today. Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Snipe, will be absent today, and Commissioner Aguirre is here as well. We have a quorum of 4, so we can continue moving forward with today's hearing. First item on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes for the month of May, which were distributed to commissioners by staff earlier. And at this time, I ask to see if there's any comments or corrections from commissioners. If there's no concerns, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve our minutes from May.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Reed. For the vote, Commissioner Reed. Aye. Commissioner Falcon,
Aye. Commissioner
Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. Approval for the minutes of the month of May moves forward. Next item on the agenda, we have also the certificates of appropriateness for the month of May, and which were also issued by staff. Do we have any comments or concerns from commissioners?
Hearing none, then I move we approve our certificate of appropriateness report. Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Falcon, for the motion, and Commissioner Hill for the second. For the vote, Commissioner Reed. Aye. Commissioner Falcon.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye. Commissioner
Aguirre is an aye. Approval for certificates of appropriateness for the month of May moves forward. At this point, we're gonna review the correspondence received for today's hearing. And before that, I'm going to read the agenda items to correlate. For today's hearing, an action portion, we're gonna have item 1 DCP-CDR-2023-1051-6 1307 Sheffield Street, Manchester Historic District, replacement of windows and front facade with composite windows. Item number 2, DCP-CDR-2024-00152, 1321 East Carson Street, East Carson Street Historic District, certain renovations for conversion to bank. Item number 3 was removed from the agenda. Item number 4, DCP-CDR-2024-01663, 500 Liberty Avenue, installation of exterior lighting and security cameras. Item number 5, DCP-CDR-2024-02747, 1200 Arch Street, Mexican Water Street Historic District expansion, alterations to fencing along alley. Item number 6, DCP-CDR-2024-04280, 319 Jackson Street, Mexican Water Street Historic District expansion, installation of rear rooftop deck. Item number 7, DCP-CDR-2024-04146, 1321 Redour Street, Mexican Water Street Historic District expansion, roof work including chimney removal. Item number 8, DCP-CDR-2024-02140, 1420 Adams Street, Manchester Historic District, demolition of existing house and conceptual review of new construction. For historic nominations, we have 1, DCP-HN-2024-00405, Pittsburgh Stained Glass Studios, 160 Warden Street, Western Neighborhood, where we are reviewing recommendation to City Council. So with that, reviewing correspondence for today's hearing, For item number one, DCP-CDR 2023-10516, there is none. For item number two, DCP-CDR 2024-00152, 1321 is Carson Street. We received a down report from the community, and then we also have a letter from Councilman Charland from District 3 in support. We will go more on detail when we have the hearing. As mentioned before, item number 3 from the agenda was removed. Item number 4, DCP-CDR 2024-01663, 500 Liberty Avenue. We have a down report from the community. For number 5, DCP-CDR 2024-02747, 1200 Archer Street. We have a letter from the Mexican Wall Streets in support. For item number 6 on the agenda, DCP-CDR 2024-04280, 319 Jacksonia Street, Mexican Wall Street LLC. We received a letter with a negative recommendation. We will review later. Item number 7 on the agenda, DCP-CDR 2024-04146, 1321 Redor Street, Mexican Wall Streets LLC, letter received, also with a negative recommendation. For item number 8, DCP-CDR 2024-02140, 1420 Adams Street, there is none. And then for nomination, DCP-HN 2024-00405, Pittsburgh Stained Glass Studios, 160 Warden Street, there is none. As mentioned before, we will review the correspondence in more detail on, we have the hearing, and if those joining us have sent something and it's not in here, feel free to reach out to staff. Do we have the court reporter?
We do.
Thank you for confirming that. At this point, I'm calling to order the hearing and action portion for today's hearing. It is June 5th, 2024, 1:11 p.m. on the afternoon. Let's start with an access check for our attendees. Can our guests hear, see as needed? If you have problems, use the Q&A or raise hand button. Staff will try to help you out. You can also call the number in the invite if you're having issues. Before we begin, to all, cases will be heard for the record and public testimony will be taken. How to participate? After the presentation from hearing, we will invite testimony. Staff will first call on the people who register by name or the last 4 digits of their phone number. Then we will invite the guests who have used the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen and guests on the phone. If the staff needs to change your status in the meeting, there may be a pause or reconnection circle. Let it finish. The chat is disabled, so please do not use it for questions. And also only use the Q&A for technical assistance. To presenters, clearly describe which slide you are presenting in order to assist those participating via audio to follow along with the presentation on their own computer or mobile device. For those providing public testimony, you will only have 3 minutes total each to make your testimony. So be mindful of your time. So with that, if there's issues or concerns, we can get started. Reminder that the staff will introduce the project and then we will go ahead to the presentation. Those presenting will have 10 minutes to explain their project. So with that, I'm calling item number 1 on the agenda, DCP-CDR 2023-10516, 1307 Sheffield Street, Manchester Historic District, Manchester Neighborhood, replacement of windows on front facade with composite windows. Do we have the applicant ready for us?
We do not. So for the 2 applicants listed, Bates and Donahue, if you're in the attendee list, can you please raise your hand to be promoted? Or dial 9, I think, if you're calling in. Okay, we're promoting two presenters. Can we please have a sound check? We have a AB 4451 and a Colin. Can we please have a sound check?
Yes, this is Colin.
Great, thank you. So staff will read in the report and then we'll turn it over to you for your presentation.
Okay. Staff comments. Composite windows have not been approved in Manchester, but have been approved in other districts in the city. Manchester guidelines are silent on composite windows, likely because they did not exist when the guidelines were developed originally. The recommended motion is approval with any additional information needed to be provided to staff for review and final approval.
Excuse me, this is the court reporter. Who was that speaking, please?
Sarah Quinn, I'm on staff here with the city.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So with that, I think we can have the applicant or applicants. You're gonna state your name and then you may begin.
Yeah, hello, my name's Colin Canister. I'm a design consultant with Renewal by Anderson of Pittsburgh.
You may begin. The floor is yours.
Great. So we are looking at 1307 Sheffield Street. The whole idea here, the customer is having some issues with their replacement windows that are in there currently. They do have a wood product in there now. Some of the issues they're experiencing, very hard to open. They're drafty, not energy efficient by any means. And I think the goal between the homeowner and ourselves is we want to maintain the look of the home the best we possibly can. So what we'd be planning on doing here is updating the existing material. What is there is wood. We will be using composite frame in the red rock color that we use to match the color that's existing. And like we said, our goal here is to kind of replicate exactly what is there. So this was a simulation that we had done. As you can see here on the left, this is what they have currently. You'll notice that the frame that's connected to the house, the original wood frame, and what's red, the difference in there that you can see essentially is the brick mold and what is connected. So when we do our replacement, we'll do the exact same situation here. So the exterior frame there will stay connected to the brick, and our new brick mold will be in our red rock color and will essentially marry into what's existing. So if you can go to the next slide for me, please. This will be kind of a better depiction of those windows side by side here. We do offer some specs. We are going to make the window exactly the size to replicate what is there. And if you go one more slide, it'll give you a little bit of a better close-up of that brick mold. And then I believe the following one is an even closer in depth. So you can see exactly how that window will be installed. That red rock brick mold marrying up to the existing wood frame. The whole goal for using this composite material is, we want to replicate that look the best we can. So move on to the next one for me, please. This is actually a real life image of this window, so not a simulation. I do like to show just a few of these composite pieces that we kind of use to replicate. You'll notice on the window here, our Fibrex composite window has a mortise and tenon joint on them. So the design of that is, instead of looking like a plastic vinyl, it's going to replicate that wood look without giving you kind of the wood rot and all that sort of stuff that comes with it. And those are the exact measurements they're showing on the right side of, sash length, meeting rails, all that sort of stuff, to show you the exact distance. And, that window should be the same size as what is existing in there now. These are some more mechanical drawings if needed. Feel free to skip past these if you like. Some more information about the Fibrex as well. And then this here is a list of some of the jobs that we have done throughout Pittsburgh through the Historical Review Commission process. So we did have this built out, some of the jobs that we have done and been approved for in the past. And then I guess moving along from this, you'll see some different photos of jobs we've done and, you know, exactly how they look. Some before and afters. This one here was one that I wanted to point out. So the window here you're seeing on the left side is the original window, and then this is the replacement window right next to it. So, you know, as you can see, you know, obviously this window will not have any sort of muttons or grids in the glass. So we basically built this window exactly to spec, from brick mold to frame, everything to match is existing. And that's pretty much all I had to touch on there. Was there any questions? These are some more specs here on the last page of some of our ratings and things like that.
Thank you for your presentation. I think we're gonna hold on questions for 1 second.
Yep.
Thank you. At this point, we will welcome public testimony regarding this property. Do we have anyone?
No hands raised?
Thank you. And there is none present at the room.
Oh, we do have one hand raised.
Okay, excellent. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Promoting Jeff now. All right, Jeff, can you please state your name for the record? Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? This is Jeff Marin.
Yes, Mr. Martin, we can hear you.
So the question I have is it looks like the presenter said the red brick mold I see, but it looks like there's a gray. Is the gray actually the brick mold around the window? And that looks like the portion that's rotting at the bottom. Is that correct?
That is correct. So what you'll see here is the portion of the window that is the gray that you're seeing there. That's actually the original wood frame in there. So underneath where the brick mold is meeting that original frame, so where the red is meeting the gray, around there is where most of the rot is occurring, believe it or not. So it's more or less underneath that brick mold. So when that original window, or the replacement window, I mean, is removed from there, we will be able to install and marry that window to the existing frame and eliminate most of that rot that's happening between the brick mold and the existing frame.
Okay, so then the simulation isn't quite.
Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry, this is Kevin Kunak, staff. This is just for public comment. It's not a back and forth discussion with the applicant. So
Okay,
you can
yeah,
ask your
okay,
questions
sure.
and then, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Sure, my apology. Yeah, so I guess my comment would be, it looks like this simulation is not quite reflecting what will be replaced, because it sounds like the gray around the edge where it's rotted will be replaced, and that's different than the picture. And also earlier, and one, again, I think these windows look nice. It seems like it's not correct. And also earlier in the presentation, it said the existing material is vinyl, when I just heard the existing material is wood, and that's what it looks like appears in the pictures as well. Thank you.
So, okay, so you are against the proposal, correct?
No, I'm not against it. I was just noting what looked to be incorrectness in two areas. One, the brick mold, and then two, earlier in the presentation that showed the existing material is vinyl, when I just heard, and it looks like from the pictures, the existing material is wood.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any additional testimony regarding this property?
No additional hands raised?
Okay, so then in that case, we're gonna move it back to commissioners and staff for questions. And something that I was gonna point out, on which Mr. Martin kind of alluded to, the images look a little bit off, and look into the package, I didn't see any dimensions of the existing windows and how the new package is gonna match it. So I know that's something that we can to be submitted to staff. But I think that's what we like to confirm, that we're gonna get a 1-for-1 for mullions and sashes sizes. Has that been performed already? Documented? And I'm asking the applicant.
Oh, yes, sorry. There should be, yes, this is the proposal here. Yep.
What is the thickness of the mullion? Of the existing
the-
mullion?
Of the existing molding. So we're going off of the actual window size here. So it's 30 inches by 87. The brick mold, they're saying 2¼ inches. So we're going to do that to replicate.
So that's what is existing then?
Correct.
So I just want to clarify what all is being replaced. Is the gray brick mold being replaced? Because Mr. Martin's concern about the degradation of the brick mold in particular, next to the sill, at least on this example, is a concern. So is the gray part being replaced?
The gray part is not being replaced.
Other commissioners, questions or concerns? And I apologize, I see now the dimension shown on the drawing, so thank you.
Yep.
And as established before, composite windows have been proven previously on this district. So personally, I don't know, I don't have any concerns, I don't know if other commissioners. If none,
I have one more question.
oh, go ahead.
Do you have the dimension of the existing meeting rail and the meeting rail in the new window? That's the only one I don't see under here. It's not gonna be the same as a header.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is a of the existing meeting rail. I don't think you'll see one. I know there's one on ours, but I'm not.
Meaning you have a dimension on the one that's being installed, but you don't have a dimension on
Correct.
the existing?
Correct. That's what I'm
Can't
under
tell.
the impression of.
Maybe you could just find out what the dimension is of the meeting rail and let staff know.
Sure. On that, it looks like page 13. Yes, this was the one on our new window.
It's just in the photo that you have where you're showing existing and proposed next to each other, the meeting rail looks a little thicker on the proposed. That may be close enough, but that's, I think, that needs to be looked at.
Okay.
Actually, one more question. So all 6 windows are the same size. We have 2 in the first floor, 2 in the second floor, and then 1 up in the attic.
I do believe the top attic window may be slightly smaller in height.
So then I think we will want to have that information submitted to staff.
Okay.
Okay,
So then I would, I move that we approve the application for 1307 Sheffield Street with the contingency that additional documentation and measurements be submitted to staff for review.
Thank you, Commissioner Falcone. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Falcone,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. Approval as noted for item number one, 1307 Sheffield Street. Thank you to the applicant.
Thank you.
Item number two in today's agenda, DCP-CDR 2024-00152, 1321 East Carson Street, East Carson Street Historic District, Southside Flats Neighborhood, storefront renovations for conversion to bank. Do we have the applicant ready for us, and also welcome staff to introduce the project?
We are promoting applicants. So one of the applicants have been promoted. Can the lead presenter please go off mute and have a sound check?
Hello, my name is Tom Senna from Ratu Associates.
All right, will you be the lead presenter?
Actually, Mr. Craig Paul, could you please promote him? He would be the main presenter. He is with CBRE Real Estate. I'm the expediter for the project, and he is the project manager for the project with CBRE, the owners. rep.
Great.
And then we also have Kristen Poole. She's the architect for any additional questions that may come up. We had her listed as well to be promoted if questions come up.
Great, we have Ms. Poole and a C Paul number one promoted. Can we have a sound check, please?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. The applicant attended its DAM with the RCO and made revisions to their proposal based on the feedback received. Staff had additional questions and concerns regarding the storefront alterations, and the applicant provided further revisions and indicated that the original materials and configurations will be kept in most areas, including the tiled entryways and wooden transoms and trim above the doors. However, they indicated that they're proposing to replace the entry doors because of safety concerns. The recommended motion is to approve all work with the exception of the entry door replacement. Guidelines indicate that original doors be kept and painted if needed, with any security or other concerns be addressed on the interior.
Thank you for that, Sarah. I think with that, we can move this to the applicant to begin their presentation with their time minute mark. Thank you. To the applicant, you may begin your presentation.
Okay, sure. Should I just share screens, or how am I able to get to my presentation? Oh, it's there. Sorry. Okay. Yep. Okay. So our site is 1321 East Carson Street. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the changes that we're proposing to the well, not really changes, but the revisions to the facade of the building. I guess Craig will probably be the best person to speak about these. Is Craig on the line? Craig Paul?
So this is, again, Kevin Gianna with staff. We do have a C Paul one as a panelist, but we don't have a little microphone icon, so I'm not sure if Mr. Paul is connected.
He should be. He was a little earlier. He should be.
All right, is there additional folks on the applicant team that's able to fill in?
Well, I would think, Kristen, could you talk to the architectural?
I can talk to that. If you want to just go to the next slide. I can do my best. Yeah, well, this is just showing the location. Oh yeah, we can hear you, Craig.
Okay, sorry. It was between my phone and computer, so I apologize, everyone.
Oh, no worries.
Could you speak a little bit louder, please? Thank you.
Try to. Okay, let me move this out. I hope this is better. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone, and, thank you, yes, so on behalf of, Bank of America, we are, respectfully, submitting our, presentation for the, Bank of America to go here on on East Carson Street. And the picture you see now is just the location, on East Carson Street and 14th, the corner there. So if you'd like to go to the next slide. There's their updated rendering. Originally, we had the storefront on the same plane, but it was recommended or required that we would keep all three doors inset. So that's what we've done. All the doors would remain and all the storefront would remain the same. The granite at the base, all that wood that was previously painted will just be repainted. The doors, however, that we would like to maintain as metal doors, just for bank security, with our prototypical design. But they would look exactly how the existing doors, and we have photos of that later in the presentation deck. All the mullions on the storefront are wood, so our intent would be to keep those as existing. If they are damaged in any way or need to be replaced, then we would replace with like materials, and then just be repainted again to match the rendering as you see there. Nothing that was not painted before will not be painted. All the materials would remain the same. So the granite along the base, the tile that leads into those alcoves would remain. We would just clean them. And the gooseneck lighting, excuse me, up above, those would be either replaced if they were damaged with similar or alike equipment, and those would all be lit up and repaired to like new. That was the biggest part of our storefront there. If you want to go to the next presentation, just again, we wanted to reiterate the comments that we received. So number one, new glazing will be installed for bank security, but will fit within the current wood trim, mullions, and transoms. Number two, all wood trim, mullions, and transoms will be cleaned and repainted. Three, the three main doors will be replaced with metal doors for bank required security. And then number four, no painting of granite surfaces will only be cleaned. And that's also associated with the tile the penny tile that is in front of those three doorways. You go to the next slide, please. This is the side along 14th Street. So all of this, again, this will be, there's a lot of graffiti there now. So the idea would just be to clean the surfaces and not to repaint it. It looks like it had been painted previously. We won't do that. We'll just clean up that exterior facade as the best we can. Up to the front there, that'll be new glazing where you see the flag, the sign that's there, that is currently there. We're just replacing with Bank of America logo. Again, replace the window to match existing with wood mullions. Just the glass would be upgraded material. The number two there, you see the door that's kind of in the middle of the building. Right now, that's just a solid metal door. We would like to replace that with a metal door, but we will match the two grayed out doors that you see further down to the right of the building on either side of those windows. Those are existing like 4-panel doors. So we will match that to look similar to those doors, but it will be metal. That would be an egress door only. But again, for bank security, we would like to have that as a metal door. The three windows that are up above, are, around the 7-foot mark. There is window film there currently. It looks like what you would we propose to put window film there, like a blocking film, because those windows are going to be covered up interior wise. So you would end up seeing the back of drywall and some studs. So we could either keep the film that's on there currently, or we would like to replace it with film, just so someone walking by or driving by wouldn't be able to see into the interior side of a built-up wall. And then number four, again, with the granite just to be cleaned, no repainting of any of those surfaces. And then the window in the back, there is, not for sure what that was used for previously, but that will remain as is, and just a window to be replaced again as like. to match the existing condition. You could go to the next slide, please. These are the photos we took of the current storefront on East Carson Street. Excuse me, and there you can see the windows with the wood mullion, the current storefront and where it's painted, and then the penny tile and the granite. So all that will remain. It'll be cleaned appropriately, and that glazing will be replaced. You could please move to the next slide. Again, just additional photos, more of the doors that are there currently, and our intent is to match that look, the same style of doors, the transoms above, that all will remain. Again, and it just will be painted to match what we saw in the rendering. Next slide, please. Now, additional photo. This shows all three entryways that will be part of the bank's lease space. And again, so all those will remain the same, just upgraded materials as far as glazing and doors. Everything else will be cleaned and remained, and what has been painted will be painted over to the branding for Bank of America. Next slide, please. These were additional photos that were requested of the side of the building. We didn't have in our initial presentation, but as you can see here, that up to the corner is that side window and some of the storefront that kind of wrapped around the corner. So that will be upgraded and painted to match the current rendering. Everything else you can see there up to about, I think it's about an 8-foot line. You can see something's been painted. Our intent is just to clear all that off, clean it back to the original brick, and then do nothing else with it. I mean, we'll clean it and paint where it makes sense to paint if it was painted before around the windows, that like blue color that's above those windows. And then you can see there's some kind of window film on those windows currently. So we would intend to either keep that or we would replace it with the film that the bank typically uses as a block out film. Next slide, please. This is further along that end toward the right of the building. You can see the egress door there with those louvers above. So that door will be replaced with a metal door, but will match the blue doors so that 4-panel look maintains for that side of the building. All of that area will be repainted to the same color. The windows, the double windows that you see there will be replaced. And that I believe there's a wall that goes up inside of there as well. And so either we would apply the film there, just so simply you're not looking into the back of an interior wall. And all that would be repainted and cleaned to match existing. And those lights, I think most of them, they seem broken. We will repair those and replace if needed with like material. Next slide, please. And just some additional photos of the area. If we find that these materials are damaged, then we would work with the landlord to replace those with like material, if that's acceptable to the commission or to the board here. You can go to the next slide. Just some additional photos of the space down the 14th Street and along East Carson Street. Next slide, please. There was a historical photo, just we wanted to place in there, just to kind of go against where we are today. So that's just a comparison photo. Next slide. This is the floor plan. So as you can see, the windows in red, that's what we went back to. That's the existing condition as you see it today. Excuse me, that will remain. This would be our typical prototypical bank layout for branch. So there'll be 6 offices in there, 2 24-hour ATM walk up in the lobby area. And then restrooms for employees and customers. Then a break room in a typical layout for just banking. There are some stairways inside that go down to the basement area. We won't be really occupying that.
Sorry, we're not really focused on the interior, so if we can begin to wrap up the presentation, thank you.
Absolutely. Next slide then. And so that's it. So our intention is to have permits completed by end of September, and then construction start in October and be finished by March. Next slide. And these are just points of contact, most of whom are on the call today. And I think that will conclude the presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. At this moment, I would like to welcome public testimony regarding this property.
We have one hand raised.
Okay, let's bring them up.
All right, so we have Jeff. You should be able to speak, so please state your name. And spell your name for the record, please.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, this is Jeff Marin, M-A-U-R-I-N. Thorough presentation, but one thing, my concern is that I see on the rendering on page 4, and then it also follows on the drawing on page 5, the glazing on the upper story windows appear to have been changed. I'm not sure, I would be against this project if that's just, if it's really, I think one of the very nice details about those upper floors is the, you know, like the small pieces of glass at the very top of the arches, which looks like has been removed. So if that's just a simplification for drawing, fine. But if that's if that detail, architectural detail is being removed, I'd be, I think it would detract from the aesthetics of the current building. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
As a staff note, that's outside the project scope.
I was gonna mention that. That will not be part of the approval, so thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Martin. Do we have any other public testimony regarding this property? No, then I would like to enter for the record the correspondence mentioned before. We have the dam report that was held for the project where there were some concerns and questions from the community, which it seems that some of them were addressed already in the project. And then we also have a letter of support from Councilperson Bob Charlin, who is writing to support of the exception requested by the applicant for this Bank of America branch. So with that, I think we can move it back to commissioners and staff for questions and concerns.
Commissioners, I'd just like to mention one thing. Just to remind you all that all of the upper windows were replaced in this building several years ago with your approval. So they're all brand new wooden windows for the most part.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us. Yeah, I remember we had to review that before, so. We just need to make sure that our approval is very clear and that nothing happens in there. And if they're meant to paint, it has to get to staff for in kind. Thank you. Well, I'm gonna start by saying that I'm in agreement with the recommendations by staff, including the denial for the entry door replacement. We don't want metal doors. They're not part of the guidelines for this district and they should remain wood and painted per the guidelines. I understand that the bank assets are important and why they want to do it, but you know, other businesses in the district are just as valuable and they have doors that are compliant with the guidelines. So that's my point on that. Other commissioners?
I agree.
Then do we have a motion?
I move that we approve all work with the exception of that entry door replacements.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Hill, thank you for the second. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Falcone,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. Motion is forward approval of all the work with the exception of the entry door replacement. Applicant may follow up with staff as needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, as mentioned before, item number 3 was removed. And that was 1304 West North Avenue. Item number 4, DCP-CDR 2024-01663, 500 Liberty Avenue, Market Square Historic District, downtown neighborhood. installation of exterior lighting and security cameras. And do we have the applicant ready for us with a sound check?
We do. We have a number of applicants promoted. Can the lead presenter please unmute and have a sound check, please?
Yes, that will be myself and Garrett Lapping if he wants to also do a sound check.
Hi, everybody. This is Garrett.
Great, thank you very much.
Lighting was approved at the last hearing. Cameras are unobtrusive and can be painted to match the brick. Staff recommended motion is to approve the project.
Thank you, staff. Then at this moment, we will welcome the applicant and they're gonna say their name and address. And then begin your presentation.
All right, my name is Laura Trendler. I'm with McBride Dale Clarion. We're at 5721 Dragon Way, Suite 300, Cincinnati, Ohio. And we are working with Huntington Bank as a permitting consultant on this project. Along with me is Garrett Lapping. He is part of our architectural team, and Fred Hawk as well, and he's with Huntington Bank. You want to go to the next slide? All right, so Huntington's request today is for their exterior security camera fixtures, which are a part of their overall redevelopment project for 500 Liberty Avenue. And if you want to go to the next slide, the site, this is just for reference of the building's location. It's there at the corner of Liberty Avenue, Stanwyck Street, and Forbes Avenue. Next. All right, and this is just showing what was formerly 500 Liberty Avenue. It was the former McDonald's restaurant. And with that, I will turn it over to Garrett for the next few slides to go over the fixture details and locations.
Okay, thanks for meeting with us, everybody. I'm going to try to make this kind of as brief as possible. Like Laura said, you guys have already kind of reviewed everything else. We're basically coming back to with some updated renderings just to show, you know, the locations of the new cameras and kind of how they compare to the originals. So if you look very closely on the just to the right of the main entry portal right there, there's one exactly right there. There's one little eye in the sky there. And then if you could go to the next slide, we're showing another one on the opposite side of the tower there. So just to the left of that small awning. And there's another one kind of far in the back that underneath the upper logo there, all the way on that back tower there. You can see it better in the next slide if you wanted to go to that one. And there are the two last cameras, one to kind of capture the street and one to capture kind of that back, you know, exit and dumpster area. If you could go to the next slide, I think that one probably tells you know the most. So you can kind of see the existing cameras are white. They have conduit on the outside of the building. They're rather large. I think what we're going down to is something more of a dark finish. We're calling out for black. You know, more of like the eyeball on the side of the building there with the conduit internal and you know, something more that, you know, blends in and disappears with the brick. And you can see there in that third picture over, that's an example of one that's been installed and is currently on a Huntington that we've done in the area. And I think that's about it.
Thank you for your presentation. At this moment, I would like to welcome public testimony, if any.
No hands raised at this time.
Thank you. And then moving back to the correspondence, we did get a copy of the DAN report where the applicant met with the community. And there were just very few questions and concerns. So with that, we can move that back to commissioners and staff for questions or concerns.
I move that we approve the application for 500 Liberty Avenue as submitted.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Falcone. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Falcone,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. Motion was forward as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 5, DCP CDR 2024 02747, 1200 Arch Street, Mexican Water Street Historic District Expansion, Central North Side Neighborhood, alterations to fencing along alley. Can staff have a sound check and for the applicant?
The applicant is being in the process of being promoted. Good afternoon, Jason. Can we please have a sound check and state your name to the record?
Sound check. My name is Jason Whalen.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Whalen, W-H-A-L-E-N.
Staff comments. Fencing style of this, like this, has been approved in other parts of the Mexican War Streets expansion. In addition, it's been approved in other districts on the north side. Staff recommended motion is to approve the project.
Thank you, Sarah. So with that, the applicant may begin their presentation.
Yes, so currently we were hired to essentially repaint the garage and do some repairs to the brickwork that sits on Eloise Street. The current color is Sherwin-Williams 6156, which is Rainy. And the homeowner also hired us to install electric charging stations for 2 electric vehicles. Currently, the backyard consists of part concrete, part elevated deck with a vinyl fence sitting on top of the deck. The deck is failing, and underneath the deck, the concrete is heaved as well. In the process of trenching for the electrical lines, we need to remove a portion of the deck. We also, made the decision, instead of replacing the failing deck, which is timber framed and has composite decking, the plan is to remove the vinyl lattice that sits under the deck, remove the vinyl fencing, and replace it with a metal and cedar fencing. And then the deck surface and the concrete would be replaced with concrete stamped. So that essentially is the scope of work.
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have public testimony regarding this property?
No hands raised at this time.
Thank you. And I would like to enter for the record that we did receive a letter from the Mexican Water Streets LRC, where they are in support of the changes requested for this project. So with that, moving it to commissioners and staff.
No questions.
I only
Oh, sorry.
have one question. I heard about charging stations. Those will be on the interior of the garage and will not be visible from the street. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, then I have no comments.
I move that we approve the application for 1200 Arch Street as submitted.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Falcone. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Falcone,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. Motion is forward as submitted. Thank you to the applicant.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda, we are number 6. DCP-CDR 2024-04280, 319 Jacksonia Street, Mexican Water Street Historic District Expansion, Central Northside Neighborhood, installation of a rear rooftop deck. Do we have the applicant ready for us with a sound check by staff?
The applicant has been promoted. Can we please have a sound check?
Hello there. My name is Robert Bombach.
Welcome. Staff may do the introduction.
Thank you. Work is appropriate per the guidelines and minimally visible from the public right away. Windows on the side elevation were replaced prior to the designation. More recently, a C of A was issued for in-kind window and door replacement on the front facade. No additional work is proposed on the front and side at this time. If there are any changes or additional work, it will be submitted under a new application. Recommended motion is approval.
Thank you, sir. Once again. Do we have the applicant may begin the
Okay. All right. Thank you. Again, my name is Robert Bombach. I'm representing Dave Mink, owner of 319 Jacksonia. Context for this property, the owner began renovation and stabilization of this property back in 2005 and 2006. That is when everything was done that you see today, including those windows, unfortunately. So in today's request, we're asking for essentially to install the railings on the roof deck, which is at the second story, above the second story, and then the deck, which I think is out of visibility of Samson, the sightline from Samsonia. If we could go to the next image, please. So again, everything that you see here are the existing conditions. This is the way it was left in 2005. And so the owner is getting back to renovating the interior of the project to bring it back online. So I included some photos on the left. Images 1 and 2 show what it looked like back in 2008 and then 2020 from the Samsonia Way view. And you can see that there's essentially no difference except for that there was, all of the doors and windows were in place. And then as we go to this image, we're seeing, okay, so that we just spoke about, and if you could just go to the next one, please. And so here I'm showing in images 1 and 2, what it looked like back in 2008 and then in 2022. Again, no changes. The windows that we see, of course, I think maybe a building was torn down, which offers us a little more sight line to those windows, but all of those were in place back in, I think they were placed in 2006. And so if we could go to the next image. So the proposal today includes the railings. I've proposed to have black aluminum pickets with a top and bottom rail with a charcoal stain on the treated wood, and then with a Trex cap, both at the top and the upper deck and the lower deck. And that is essentially what I'd like to present today. I'd also like, okay, good. There's the manufacturer's detail on the balustrade, the balusters, and then the handrail cover. And then I think we just clicked over. Yeah, there's a detail of the door. They're plain. It's a full light door with a transom. I'm showing a crowned transom bar with brick mold to frame out the masonry opening. And that shows up, that is visible from the Samsonia Way site.
Quick pause, this door was already approved before, correct? This is not new.
So this was done, the doors were installed in 05, 06, prior to the district expansion. And so essentially just putting on the crown and the brick mold to finish out the door is basically the ask there.
Okay, continue.
Yes, and so that concludes the presentation on the new things that are being presented. I understand from the owner that he has made a separate request to address the facade, which and I think the facade is a great opportunity, but at this time it's going to be an in-kind replacement of the existing parts, and so that I wanted to address the local review commission's valid concern about what was going to be done on that front, the facade, and the owner has addressed that. So I think that concludes everything. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you for your presentation. At this moment, we would like to welcome public testimony.
No hands at this time?
Thank you. And I would like to bring up again from our correspondence and for the record, a letter received from the Mexican Wall Streets LRC, where they do support the deck railings, and I think, I apologize, they do have other information regarding to not items on this application. So on the portion of the deck and railings, they are in support. So with that, we can move it back to commissioners and staff for questions or concerns.
I have a question for staff. That door was approved previously?
The rear
Or
door.
it didn't need to be?
Yeah, it was before the district.
I was on Street View, there's like a big hole there and not a door, so I don't know if that means anything, but just FYI.
I think I can address that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was, I think the door is there, it was boarded up, and I think there was a break-in at some point. And so the photo there was taken, the later photo in the lower photo there, 2020, is showing being taken out. And I think that the owner had to do take it out and replace it or replace the glass. And so, he has the same door replacing the glass. Everything would be put back in place as it is shown in that photo that's highlighted.
Thank you for the clarification. Other questions or concerns?
I move that we approve the application for 319 Jacksonia Street regarding the new deck and roof deck railings.
Sorry.
That was a second from Commissioner Hill. Thank you, Commissioner Hill for a second, and Mr. Falcone for the first, the motion. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Falcone,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye as well. Motion moves forward as submitted for the deck. Thank you for the applicant.
Thank you very much for hearing us today.
Next item on the agenda, item number 7, we continue Mexican Wall Street Historic District Expansion, item DCP-CDR-2024-04146, 1321 Redour Street, Central Northside Neighborhood, roof work including chimney removal. Can we have a sound check for the applicant and introduction by staff?
Hi, yes, this is Heather Schmieder from Prescott Roofing.
Welcome.
Thank you. Prescott Roofing is proposing that we remove the chimney here, redeck every.
Hold on, no, hold on one second. The staff is gonna do the introduction first, if that's okay, and then you may begin.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
This application is for in-kind replacement of the asphalt shingle roof. It includes removal of the rear chimney. The guidelines don't support removal of chimneys, and HRC has not approved their removal in the past. The applicant indicated that the chimneys are causing maintenance issues that the owner tried and failed to have corrected. Staff asked the applicant to provide more information on the issues and if something more simple like capping the chimney would work. Recommended motion, approval of in-kind roof replacement with the exception of the removal of the chimneys.
Thank you, Sarah. At this point, the applicant may begin. Thank you.
Thank you. We are proposing to remove the chimney, redeck the area, re-shingle and re-flash the work area. The chimney is non-functional and it's causing interior damage. The homeowner had work done before they purchased the home and that did not work. So that is why we are proposing to remove the chimney altogether to stop the interior issues.
Is that the summary of your presentation?
It does, yes. Thank you.
Moving, do we have any public testimony regarding this property?
We do. We have one hand raised. Jeff, you should be able to speak, so please state your name, spell it for the record.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Jeff Marin, M-A-U-R-I-N. Yeah, just chiming into concurrence with the staff's opinion here. I think the chimneys are an important feature of these houses when they were built. And looking at those photos, it looks like it just wasn't repaired well. I'm sure this chimney can be repaired. I don't think tearing down a chimney just to alleviate some maintenance issues would be a sufficient reason. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, right now we're
Sorry.
just reviewing public testimony. Thank you, just hold on. Do we have any more public testimony?
No additional hands raised.
Thank you. And then I would like to enter from our correspondence, the letter received from the Mexican Water Streets LRC, where they are not in support of the removal of the chimneys from the structure located at 1321 Ritur Street. So with that,
Yes.
we can move into commissioners and the staff for questions.
Yeah, I think, I concur with what the previous speaker said. I think this chimney has not been properly flashed. I think apron flashing is typically one of the ways that you handle things like that. And also capping it, as mentioned by staff, seems like a good idea. So I don't support removal of the chimney.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm in agreement too.
Okay, hearing no other comments, I'll move that we approve the application for 1321 Red Hour Street with the exception of the chimney demolition.
Do I have a second?
Second.
First for Commissioner Falcone, second from Commissioner Hill. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Falcone,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. Motion moves forward.
And can I, just real quick, staff, if you could try to connect them with some other people in the past who have, I'm sure there must be somebody we've worked with who knows who could be of service to getting the chimney properly fixed and capped to stop their
We
issues.
can't make recommendations.
know,
We can look at our prior applications.
Yes, prior applications and that sort of stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, this is just bad workmanship and where that it can be properly repaired. And this is a very distinctive issue of this house, so thank you. Moving forward, item number 8, DCP-CDR 2020-02140, 1420 Adams Street, Manchester Historic District, Manchester Neighborhood, demolition of existing house and conceptual review of new construction. Do we have an applicant ready for us?
Thank you.
We don't need a sound check, so we have it here.
Well, sound check is at the mics and the ceiling, so. Okay.
Mr. Koenig, you may, or whoever is gonna make the introduction to the project.
1420 Adams Street, Manchester Historic District in the Manchester neighborhood. The scope of work is demolition of existing house and conceptual review of new construction. Staff comments. This application for is for demolition only. However, the Manchester guidelines specify that several factors be taken into account regarding demolition. One of which is the site is plans for any new structure that would place the building on its site. Since the applicant indicated there are plans for new construction, staff has been assisting with bringing plans to align with the guidelines. The guidelines for new construction in Manchester are fairly prescriptive and call for only 10% variation from the surrounding context in elements like height, massing, and openings. As there has been quite a lot of demolition in this part of the neighborhood, staff was able to pull some historic context photos to draw from. But the revisions made by the applicant, it appears that implementing a new design will be a challenge, as this is an extremely narrow lot for the district at only 16 feet wide. At this point, staff has elected to pull back and bring the application for demolition before the HRC to decide its appropriateness and, if appropriate, a direction for what will be acceptable for new design. Recommended motion, either conditional approval of demolition upon submittal and review of full plans for new construction or denial of demolition.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Ola Aminu, OLAMAMINU, and we actually purchased this property in 2023, and we have plans for demolition and building for 2025. However, because of the state of the building, we received a violation from PLI that we need to bring this building to code, and that is the reason why we're actually trying to take care of this now. We have other projects that we are doing right now, and that is why we push this to 2025. But basically, the way it is right now, the building is cannot be salvaged. We looked at it, and we can definitely see the sky from the basement. That is how bad the building is, and we are seeking for approval to demolish what we have right here and to bring a new building in there. However, we tried to, because of the narrow lot was a concern, so we reached out to the city of Pittsburgh to buy the lots around the property, but that application was rejected because they said those lots were not available for sale. And our original design was to have a building with a front garage, and that was again, we had the back and forth that we cannot have a front-facing garage. Unfortunately, we do not have early access in this building, and we were told, so this is what we wanted to originally build up, but we were told that we cannot have a front-facing garage. And right now, the building that is existing on that lot is has about 16 feet setback compared to the adjacent building. So if you look at the building next to it, they are not on the same building line. And we are hoping that we can bring the building forward to be able to meet up with the next building, because on the left of the building, we have about 6 vacant lots before another building. And so that is where we are on this, and we are hoping that we'll be given the permission to go ahead and remove the building, hoping that we'll be able to erect something like this when we get to it in 2025.
Is that the summary of your presentation?
Yes, I mean, for now, yes.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we would like to welcome public testimony regarding this property.
No hands raised at this time.
Thank you. And we do not have any correspondence regarding this project, so we can move it to commissioners and staff.
Has the community had an opportunity to engage with this project and know about the demolition?
No, that I'm aware of.
Okay. I know that the folks in Manchester are very proud of their historic district and typically shy away from demolition. And when it's been necessary to demolish a building, they always kind of opt for a replacement that looks fairly similar to what had to be demolished. And our level of review usually does the same. So I could very much appreciate seeing some of the issues that have been presented here to us on the screen. I would, I would say if a demolition is necessary, I'd like to see something that very much resembles the house that's in front of us now. Can be reconstructed or something that has the same kind of dimensions. Know that what was presented looks quite a bit larger. And I think what Planner Quinn mentioned earlier about taking examples from the district is really key. Ensuring that you're able to maintain, I think, the semblance of the single family home nature of the street would be important.
So if I could respond to that, what we suggested was actually from the suggestion of the member of staff. If you look at the screen, I mean, if you can go to other pictures.
I can speak to that a little bit, just trying to go through the options.
Yeah,
One option
next
is
one.
to,
So this is what was recommended to us, that was removed from one of those vacant lots that we have on the side of the house.
Can understand that. It's a really fundamentally different building than what we're looking at right now. I mean, I have lots of questions about the age of the property. And what's in front of us now is something that looks like it was built kind of in later Manchester, and the property that you have looks like it's kind of early Manchester, much older, much smaller. And I don't want to kind of create a false sense of history in the place that you have, if there will be a replacement. My other question for you is, very obviously there are issues with the building. Have you been able to engage with like a structural engineer or someone who can provide a report about exactly the structural failings of the building so we could have that to review?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely get a structural engineer to review it, but I mean, the building has been condemned for almost 2 decades from my records. And I feel going by the route of getting a structural engineer in there would definitely come to a similar same conclusion. I'm looking at the materials and the conditions of the building.
What was the nature of your PLI citation?
I think it was, I can't remember the exact property.
General.
Let me see if I have it here.
Needs to be fixed, generally was the vibe of the citation, didn't get close to emergency demolition or anything, but that we know of, because it. But this looks right on the line.
So I do have it here. So I think the citation was for. Okay. I think the citation was for the facade and the safety of the building itself. So citation. So the summary of it was that the house is not in an habitable condition, and they talked about the exterior facade that should be fixed.
I have a question. Is this the only lot that you own within the area? Because I can see that you're probably trying to increase your square footage on your property, but I don't know.
So that is the only, that I actually bought it from the owner 1418. She owns the two. That is the one on the right, Ms. Resiskin. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And yes, we actually wanted to buy because this particular building is the end of a row lot. And we try to see if we can redevelop the whole floor, and that is why we reach out to the city. But unfortunately, they turned that down, that those lots are not for sale. We tried to reach the families and heirs of the previous owners of those lots to see if we can buy it back from the city, but that was to no avail.
Yeah, because I was just asking, because if you're trying to increase the square footage, maybe having something that looks like what is there right now, and they have an addition or something on the back, which is not in the front of you, that might be a way to increase your square footage in the property, but if that's not possible, then.
So what we are looking at now is we wanted a situation where we'll be able to have a garage since we are building a new building, and in today's world and economy, almost every household needs a car to move around. However, if the option of having a garage is not there, we can actually use the front of the property as a setback, as a parking pad, and have the building extend to the back. But I'm not sure if that will be compliant with PLI requirement for the required setback of the property, because the length of the lot itself is about 82 linear feet.
You also need to have a conversation with Joey and your neighbors, and that's a pretty fundamental change to the nature of the district.
Yeah, I don't know that Domi would, speaking as a former Domi employee, I'm not sure that Domi would be willing to approve that. It would need a variance probably, and that might not be approved by the zoning board. And even if it is, it might not be approved by Domi, so.
For your reference, DOMI's the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, and they're the city agency who regulates curb cuts. So if you were doing a driveway, they authorize you having a curb cut in there. And they agreed, it's not generally the type they approve. So I guess for us then, you know, in our line of direction here, the applications for demolition and then plausible replacement. So do we want to give more direct input on what we would see replacing it? Because also, you know, just speaking, inevitably, the next PLI citation is going to be emergency demolition at this point. So maybe we could give a little more direction on what sort of building we'd like to replace, have them maybe go back, come up with some more appropriate ideas in the return.
Yeah, and as a quick staff comment, there is no application for use.
So it's not, so it's just for the demolition.
So there's no, it's just for demolition. So regardless of what, you know, that was on the screen, you know, providing direction to the applicant for that new construction.
We haven't in the past approved demolition without, you know, kind of two very specific things. One, a justification for the need. So, you know, having that structural engineer's report would be really helpful for us to not just take things using our own eyes and your testimony, but actually have official documentation. And the other is we don't typically approve a demolition without fully understanding what will be replacing it. And I think that Commissioner Hill touched on a good point of, you know, what, from our perspective, what would replace this and what would be amenable to seeing. You know, I go back to like the history of the neighborhood and what this street looks like. You know, I see I know there's lots of kind of what we call missing teeth, like there's lots of open spaces where there used to be houses. It looks like, in looking at some of the plat maps, some of the old maps from this area, the houses that would have existed in those lots that are now owned by the city look a lot like yours. They were small, they were wooden structures, they were very old. You know, it looks, to me, I would want to see something that looks like a house. Something that looks very similar to what is here, replace this building. You know, the other thing that I would like to see is that it looks like there are decorative elements on the porch, like the wooden beams that have kind of intricate woodwork in them. You know, that's probably the most significant character defining feature of this property. I would like to see that continue on into whatever new building is constructed, so that you're maintaining some of the character, like, of your particular house in your space.
So if you remind me, what's the protocol, if you get a citation for something in a historic district and you're engaged with HRC and staff on replacement, approval, demolition, et cetera, and so forth. Is there like, is it just still, meaning is there a separate linear path that where the magistrates are just doing whatever they want, completely independent of if they're engaged with us?
Generally, the inspector many times will check in with us to see what's going on with the applicant, whether they're working with us to try and come up with a resolution or not. And at that point, generally, if the process gets to the point where they have to go to the magistrate, that's something the inspector would let the magistrate know, and then they would give an additional 60 days or 90 days. So really, it's not, the purpose isn't to really like cite people and find people, it's to really sort of facilitate a process. And so that's really the optimal goal.
I wanted to know that for your sake, because I don't want to send you back to court every time I finish or anything, so.
Yeah, I mean, they already gave me 60 days.
Yeah, okay.
They gave
And
me
then-
their email address to hopefully get back to them.
And if you're still communicating with them and the inspectors, et cetera, and so forth, you shouldn't have, so I guess, or just think that a structural report, a structural engineer's report is really what we would air quotes need, in the way of any other intervention by PLI for reasons beyond our control. And then if you kind of glean from us the sort of, in general, if I'm speaking for all of us in this moment, we kind of indicated we'd like something a little more similar to this present style would be the replacement. Is that, if I gleaned you all correctly?
Correct. Yes. Right now, as mentioned before from the staff, there's been a lot of demolitions and unfortunate situations happening with this community, and we're trying to avoid that. If we put our glasses, 40 years ago, this house is probably very beautiful, and I think, it would be great to have that, back into the community. I will encourage to pursue that and have a plan about what will happen in here before a demolition is approved, unless other security type safety issues come up.
And does that all make sense to you? Because generally, structural engineer reports are kind of what we look for, because people come, as you can imagine, all the time and say, I swear it's gonna fall down. Just, can I tear it down? Promise, Obviously, your pictures are pretty damning. I don't disbelieve them, but just as a rule of thumb, it's kind of hard for us to just, take people at their word that they swear it's gonna come down, and unless I demolish it. Does that kind of all make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. I'll probably get a structural report and we'll move from there.
And as long as you're communicating with them and they'll be communicating with the inspector and everything, you won't find yourself unnecessarily cited or anything like that.
So, thank you very much for that. So the first step is to get this structural report in. And after that,
And if you're still probably gonna pursue replacing, because I assume, like, just visually, you'll probably have to.
Yeah, I mean-
Something in your design that's a little more cohesive with what's there presently would be what we would be looking for replacement. So if you want to, are simultaneously working with whomever to come up with an alternative plan, something more similar to, Matt, Mr. Valco referenced the porch detailings, things like the way, et cetera and so forth. And there's all sorts of historical pictures we could probably dig up that could give you some reference points, et cetera and so forth.
Yeah, there's on the map, because I just always love to look at the historic maps. I think that whole line of basically 3 of those structures was there in the 1870s, so it's old. And I think actually, after you go past all the vacant lots towards,
Adam's
I don't
going
know.
towards the Allegheny River.
yes.
The Ohio.
Right, no, yeah, towards the river, or, yeah. There are remaining structures there that have had a lot of changes and may not be as representative, but you can also look to those to see if there's any sort of inspiration you can glean from that, because they're also kind of the
So
same.
I looked at that already. I'm not sure if I have it on the picture, but they look like.
Yeah, they're not real good looking, but
They're not like, I don't want to build a new building and make it look crappy from the get-go.
no, we're not saying build, I'm not saying build that. I'm saying,
I mean, I trust me. I build it ground ups and I build beautiful buildings, and I want to build something beautiful in that location. However, if I'm to mimic what is there, it might not be the best line of action for me, and it might not be the best of project that I want to invest my time and resources in. I'm honest with you. Because we have other projects, we're hoping to build a 28 unit building in Oakland. I think Ken was on that meeting sometime in 2022, or Kevin rather, on North Craig Street. Yeah. Yeah, you remember that, I know, because we talked about it. So anyways, that's where we are on this, and I will try to provide the structural report. But I would like a situation where we can at least move a little bit from what the building would look like. I mean, I received 2 recommendations from the staffs. These are something looking similar to this, and the other building that was sent over. And I believe we should be able to be allowed to do something like that.
You can always convince us, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna take off my chair hat for a second, and understanding that a lot of, this community needs help, and investment. Maybe something between what was thought of this very business type building to something that is more in the middle. I think I will be better, if you don't want to do just a single home. Just because I think, if we have people who are interested in making the community better, I think I will be open, to consider.
I mean, I actually love to rebuild the whole of the fort that was removed, and that will make it more investment worthy for me and my partners. However, we approached the city and they unfortunately told us that they're not willing to sell that right now. And we even tried to get to the heirs of the owners of the property that were removed, and that was to no avail. So it's not like we want to see something good happen to that space.
And I'm talking within that space that right now we're talking about replicating or finding something inspired to what we have in the screen. But what I'm saying, I personally will be open if it's something different, maybe a little bit bigger than what is there. So we have one less empty site broken down. So that's just what I'm trying to say, that the building that I saw, I think that was like the extreme to what this neighborhood is, but maybe somewhere in the middle that we.
I mean, we can definitely tone it down a little bit to represent what is there so that it won't look totally odd from. Definitely we can do that. But we want to shift away from what it used to be a little bit too.
Yeah, so I think as we mentioned before, right now, the structural report will be the first to start. And then you have, a group of designers or other people, start that conversation, based on what is in the district, on the guidelines, and then, where, this could potentially go.
Actually, I want to throw out a couple other addresses that you might want to look at, things that have been before us over the past few years that are kind of houses that are the same or similar size. There's not a lot in Manchester, unfortunately, because there's houses that are this old usually don't make it this long. But there's a few in Deutschtown that I was thinking of. There's 600 Presley Street. That's Presssley. That was recently, it's under new construction. It was a house that was kind of rejuvenated. There's another even smaller one on Cedar Avenue, and the address of that is 716 Cedar Avenue. And then there's another house too that has it's set back from the street just like this, and it's a little bigger than kind of what we see here, but it might be good inspiration kind of looking to what you might be able to do in the future. And that is 504 Lockhart Street.
Wasn't there was one over in the Mexican War Streets that got looked at, they wanted to put picket fence in?
Yeah, Jacksonia Street.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of the.
Jacksonia Street.
But they're all comparable, and they've all been like renovated. They look really nice, and they look like they're a brand new house, even though they are not. So I think you can do a lot. Got.
So let's the motion is to be denial of demolition.
I would say table. Let's just table.
Demolition? Yeah.
I would say table.
I also just real quick, then I'm gonna make a motion, we'll set you free for the day. If you're having trouble with side law stuff, it might be helpful to reach out to your council person and try to figure out what's going on with that. They can often be helpful in unifying issues. And you're a man named Dan Lavelle, City Council District. So I'd recommend reaching out to Councilman Lavelle to talk with, in particular, if you're having trouble acquiring side lots. With that said, I'd move that we table the application for 1420 Adams Street for 30 days.
Just table.
Stable until we come back.
Thanks very much for that.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Falcone. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Falcone,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. Motion is stable. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the communication, and thank you for trying to invest.
Thank you.
For the neighborhood.
Mention, if your building inspector emails you or anything like that, you can CC us on it, so we know what's going on with you, and we can talk to him about you working with us.
Moving, thank you. Moving forward, with today's hearing, we find ourselves on item E, historic nominations. For that, we have DCP-HN 2024-00405, Pittsburgh Stained Glass Studios, 160 Warden Street, Western Neighborhood. Pittsburgh Stained Glass Studios owner, Matthew Falcone and Kerry Weaver nominators. Recommendation to City Council. And then with that, I welcome staff to begin their presentation and any updates on the property.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Quinn for the court reporter. I'm just gonna hit the highlights here since we gave you the briefing last time. The property is located at 160 Warden Street in the West End. It was built in 1902. Basically, the property can be considered historic based on two particular things. What made the business successful was its stable of designers it had and the quality of work that they produced. Another part of the business that made the property successful was the marketing prowess of the management. They were able to weather the Great Depression, World War II, all the way up until this day. They have an active, well-regarded business. They've done many military chapels. They've done repairs to Tiffany stained glass windows in local churches. They've provided stained glass for working class 1920s bungalows. So that's really what I have. I can tell you that Kirk Weaver was the Stained Glass Association of America's president. He received the President's Award at the 100th anniversary conference, which was pretty prestigious. So very well regarded within the stained glass community and the restoration community. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I think that is what I will leave you with today. And just to remind you, you're making recommendations to City Council. This is scheduled for Planning Commission at the end of the month.
Thank you for the presentation. Do we have any public testimony regarding this property?
No hands are raised.
Thank you, and we do not have any correspondence as well. So moving these two commissioners for discussion.
Sounds great. Move that we provide a positive recommendation to the City Council for a historic nomination of Pittsburgh Stained Glass Studio at 160 Warden Street.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Reed. Could we confirm on what criteria are we supporting this?
Yes. The criteria. I'm both, sorry, I lost my page. Which criteria was this?
Number 4.
Number four, yes, sorry.
Its identification as the work of an architect, designer, engineer, or builder whose individual work is significant in the history of the development of the city of Pittsburgh, the state of Pennsylvania, the Mid-Atlantic region, or the United States. Thank you, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Reed. For the vote, Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Aguirre is an aye. We're providing positive recommendation to the Pittsburgh Stained Glass Studio Historic nomination. Thank you. Moving forward, we have now Director's Report.
Yes, two items.
Go ahead.
First item is the comprehensive plan and kind of seeking some commissioner guidance on how you'd like to receive updates. So I think potential executive session or briefing before hearing and action items, or even perhaps as a director's report. So I think the next month or two, I'd like to invite strategic planning in to give an update on when we're kicking off the comprehensive planning process, hear feedback of how we would like to engage you in that process. And just kind of more regular updates, if those quarterly or, whatever, the commission is thinking of.
Forgive me, this is,
Court reporter jumping in again. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Apologies, Kevin Kunak, city planning staff.
That's what I thought, but it looked like your thing was muted, so I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So you could just, email us some feedback on that one. And then the second item I think is related to demolitions. So I think at the last meeting, we had some questions regarding demolitions. I think, submission of report or part like exploratory demolition. And then this previous case also in instance of demolition that then required new construction. So this is really opening up for discussion because the full commission isn't here. It'd be, I think, good to hear Commissioner Green's take on this. But again, the interest on either executive session or a director's report kind of format where I think staff, we're looking for additional guidance on what the commission would be looking for in terms of, instance of when new construction is needed. So I think what we've heard, as part of a demolition submission, submitting an engineers or, some kind of structural report as part of that application for review. And then I think, since the code and guidelines may be a bit vague on what new construction means or, a conceptual design, I think fleshing that out a little bit more would be an update potentially in rules and procedures or a staff handout that we're able to provide.
I'm not overly concerned about them because I don't feel like they happen all that often in the scheme of, when they come before us, but I do agree that like some sort of pre-requirement of a structural report rather than photos would be very helpful. Not much. Looks bad, but you can't see what's in the walls and the bones necessarily in some of these pictures,
Correct. I mean, we can have an executive session to bring everybody's thoughts, and I agree that Commissioner Green will be, very beneficial to this conversation. Just to try it out there for food for thought to discuss later. I also would like to know what kind of maintenance or abandonment, if any, on the property has happened to get to a point that we're getting to a demolition. Because I think it's important to know how did we get to that point to begin with, and because by understanding how we get into that point, we can probably do better overall. So just food for thought.
I would agree, though, in having an executive session, it would be nice to have a discussion that's completely divorced from a specific applicant.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the goal as well.
I think that that's probably best achieved in the executive session because we, of course, are entirely reactive to whatever applications we get on a monthly basis. So we don't have control about whether or not there is prospective demolition on our agenda or not.
Yep, agreed.
Unrelated, but something for the room, since we're just talking about notification stuff. The fire at Beltuver School last night, which is one of our landmarks that we've had, thankfully, through the grapevine, it's not anything bad and they'll be able to continue that project along. But is there any sort of, is that PLI should have informed you that, right? Is that how that works? That a landmark had a fire?
Or something, not this quickly, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, but so I'd just be curious to put that on our mind, just how long is it gonna take them to shoot you a note that one of the buildings we have caught on fire, going on 17 hours ago. And again, thankfully, this one wasn't a bad one particularly, but
I think it depends on where it was damaged to, because if it's just interior, we wouldn't necessarily have any.
sure, but I mean,
With
like,
that.
it's looking out the windows and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you know, it's just
I'm
something to
not-
keep in mind.
I mean, I'm even more curious about some of the fire locations in the south side. There's one property that had fire a while back. And last I saw is still kind of, is open, and that is just causing whatever additional damage with water, sun. So I think that all falls down into, demolitions and those, extreme situations that happen, and how can we, be better fosterers of, property, exterior properties. So, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that might be for executive session too, like.
Absolutely.
not
Yeah, that
being
should be.
Critical of the LI, but I feel like it's not too difficult to know if it's on a list of like 50 things and then send an email that morning, if you're there that night.
So is that for director's report?
This,
So then, do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Sorry.
Okay, for the vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.